One of the most important rights of American citizens is the right to vote. This right to participate in the political process is guaranteed by law. For persons with disabilities, however, the voting process can be very, very challenging. And particularly this year, though, the challenge is being met by an inclusive voting initiative that is being launched in Allen County to address those barriers that individuals may face, particularly if they are dealing with disabilities, in order to cast their ballots. We'll be talking with the leaders behind this particular civic outreach on this evening's Primetime. And good evening, I'm Bruce Haines. With us this evening, our guests include Mandy Drakeford. She is a steering committee member with the Northeast Indiana Disability Advocacy Coalition. And also with us is Heather Schillinger, who is a Community Action Project member with Leadership Fort Wayne. And we'd like to get to know who you are as well. If you'd like to join our conversation, feel free to call in your questions and comments by using the number that you see on the screen. So we're widening out and we're welcoming Mandy, we're welcoming Heather. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Sure. We heard in the introduction my attempt at saying NIDAC and LFW. And in this world of acronyms, it's probably a good place to start to build on that acronym and tell us a little bit more about the agencies you represent. So Mandy, Northeast Indiana Disability Advocacy Coalition.
Correct.
You
got it right, Bruce.
Right.
Thank you. Thanks for having us tonight. So NIDAC was formed in 2008 by individuals with disabilities, advocates for disabilities, and organizations that serve people with disabilities. And the whole focus was to create a coalition of organizations and people that would present a unified voice to our community when it comes to issues that individuals with disabilities might face. And so there's three principles that we really focus on with NIDAC. One of those is to build an inclusive region. We want our communities to be as inclusive as possible for people with disabilities. The second is equity, making sure that individuals with disabilities have equity and able to access every part of life in our community. And then the third is really enabling people with disabilities to have choice. We want people with disabilities to have consumer choice over provider preference. So when they're looking for services and programs, they have the opportunity to make that decision of what's best for them. We have 25 members, and that ranges from service providers, the Allen County Public Library, the Audio Reading Service, AWS Foundation, Turnstone, CTN, Dasani, lots of different organizations through our community that either serve individuals with disabilities or advocate for people with disabilities. And so we come together quarterly with different ideas for education. We put together advocacy campaigns like this one to provide information to our community members, but then also we work to connect with elected officials in our community and statewide as well. So our organization has held various programs and opportunities to connect with elected officials and candidates for office as well.
Wow. The interconnection of it all,
yeah.
and the blessing of the asset of so many not-for-profit social service organizations in particular.
Absolutely.
Having a chance to have a sounding board and a place for input and output all at the same time.
Yeah.
Wow. Leadership Fort Wayne is something about which many might be familiar, even if you're not from here, because there's sometimes Leadership Dallas or Leadership San Francisco. But here in Leadership Fort Wayne, what are we talking about, Heather?
Yeah, so Leadership Fort Wayne is a leadership program that is it's a signature adult civic leadership development program that's designed for an annual group of emerging to seasoned professionals who have shown their ability to achieve personal goals as well as have a desire to serve their community.
This is a multi-month kind of thing. You're signing on for, you don't get graded, but there is kind of a show up for class and get involved and get to know those who are going through the program with you on an annual basis, I think, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a 9-month immersive program. We meet once a month, a full day, full Thursday. We meet throughout the community to learn about the different things that are going on and how everything kind of works within the community.
And when that background is absorbed, hopefully not just by osmosis, but by actually trying to work through things like the project we're going to talk about tonight, then you're prepared to step out and be involved in that community. I think you're looking to serve on nonprofit boards and things of that nature, right?
Absolutely, yeah. That's part of the program. Actually, is a board internship, where you can have an internship to be on a board. So that is really awesome. And you get to connect and network and yeah.
Well, these community action projects seem like a fairly recent but wonderful addition to what Leadership Fort Wayne takes on. Tell me about CAP, because we're going for acronyms here.
Yeah. So the CAP team, what happens is local nonprofits are paired with a group of Leadership Fort Wayne classmates to create, develop, and implement an initiative. So my team, my CAP team, was paired with NADAC with the initiative of a voting rights initiative with the goal to increase the awareness of accessible voting options.
There are a world of different alternatives for thinking what could be a CAP option. What was it about voting and voting rights that made you think that's the one right there?
Yeah, so I am very passionate about voting. I do believe that, if you want things done in your community, you have to have that voice, cast your vote. I was also a part of the Inclusion Institute's first year Leadership Academy, which was through the League of the Blind and Disabled, and that really, it just kind of went right in line with that. So I felt like it was appropriate. I had a good knowledge, a good background on it, and it was very exciting.
And so the phone rings, you get an email. Mandy, how did NIDAC then and Leadership Fort Wayne come together around all this?
Yeah, so Greater Fort Wayne Inc., who runs the program for Leadership Fort Wayne, was looking for projects, and NIDAC was looking at this election season as, it's an important election for all of us. And we had learned that 23% of voters participated last year, which is a low number of participation. And so we started thinking we really need some more help with this initiative. And we wanted to make sure that we were bringing awareness to this issue with many leaders in our community. So when we saw the opportunity to apply to be a CAP project, we reached out and connected with them, and thankfully they selected us to participate. And so once we were able to work with Greater Fort Wayne Inc., they had a variety of organizations that shared what they're working on, and then we had about 8 members pick this project for the CAP team. So it was connecting with Greater Fort Wayne Inc. and making sure that this is front and center with leaders in our community. So not only do we have 8 new individuals helping bring ideas to help reach potential voters and help make voting more accessible in our community, but we're also able to help inform 8 more leaders about disability information and help build more knowledge for them as leaders in our community. So it's a great partnership in terms of reaching our community and helping equip our leaders as well.
And even within its name, the Inclusive Voter Initiative, this speaks to one of the pillars you were mentioning a moment ago.
Yeah.
Inclusive how? In what way to allow for, I'm assuming, full access to the voting process and to that everyone is in, no matter how they approach the ballot box.
Yeah, absolutely. We were really looking, we had 2 different focuses for the initiative. One, education to voters about the different ways to vote. There's several accessible voting options. And then also working with our Board of Election to help train our poll workers to make sure they're equipped to work with people with disabilities. And
for members of the group, what do you do to define success when you're taking a project on?
Well, so what we've done so far is we have made sure to reach out to the Board of Elections and the League of Women Voters to learn about what they're already doing to ensure accessible voting options and polling locations. We have worked on building awareness of the accessible voting options. We have provided training materials to volunteer poll workers to help them better understand the best ways of assisting individuals with disabilities. We've also worked on establishing an ongoing relationship between NIDAC and the Board of Elections. And we've also connected with the voters with disabilities, to help encourage them to share their voice and learn about the different ways that they can cast their votes.
Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking in the communication then between Leadership Fort Wayne and NIDAC, you received this information. How has that kind of activity been received, and what's been the response?
That's a great question. So initially, we actually, in partnership with Leadership Fort Wayne, we created a survey that we shared with our community to hear from people with disabilities. In any project that we're working on with NIDAC, we really want to make sure we're hearing directly from people with disabilities and learning what are those barriers that they might face. So we heard from about 40 members in our community, and we were able to understand what are some challenges they might be facing when it comes to voting. Maybe it's transportation, maybe it's accessing the polling location, maybe it's being able to see the ballot on the screen, maybe changing the contrast on the screen. So being able to understand those issues directly from individuals with disabilities was really important at first, and then we could come up with those objectives that we want to reach in terms of making sure more individuals with disabilities are registered, making sure they're aware of the accessible voting options, and then equipping our poll workers with a variety of training to be able to serve people with disabilities.
Yeah, I'm imagining timing is everything in this sense too, because of the desire to have as many questions answered or any kinks straightened out, say April, May, June, before you get to August, September, October. And so I'm imagining the calendar was probably your friend and your motivator all at the same time.
Always, yeah. It was very fast moving. We knew we had some deadlines to meet. We still have deadlines to meet, so yeah.
We started running in January. They kicked off the program in January and worked right towards the primary in April.
And this is just a few of some of the statistics that are out there driving this, and I want to get your reactions to these. And you mentioned the one that people with disabilities have a 20% likelihood of having difficulties with voting in person, as opposed to 6% without a disability. So 20 with, 6 without. 1 in 4 American adults have a disability, according to the Centers for Disease Control. 11% of voters with disabilities had some type of difficulty voting in the election in 2020, and that indicates a total of nearly 2 million voters with disabilities experiencing difficulties. And it keeps on going, but the one that sticks with me the most when we think about the percentage of those who voted at all, if people with disabilities voted at the same rate as people without disabilities who have the same demographic characteristic, there would be about 1.75 million more voters. So as to get activity to the polls, I'm assuming that this project in that sense is almost like measuring the wind. You can't see the wind, but you want to be able to see what the wind can cause and what it can do. And getting people to the polls to see those participation numbers go up, I imagine regardless of party, that's a positive thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so important that people with disabilities have a chance to have their voices heard. And this is one way that they're able to do that. And so when Heather was sharing more about how important voting is and why she participated in the project, we're just hopeful that people have more chances to get engaged with voting and understand the different options that are available.
I think about the relationship that both of you have in this as agencies, but also the ripple effect, because there have been other partnerships going on. You mentioned the Allen County Election Board. You were at the AWS Disabilities Expo. Talk about this bonus collaboration thing that seems almost spontaneous in times like this.
Yeah, it's really felt like with Leadership Fort Wayne, they brought so many new ideas to the table. They've helped make new connections for us. The Board of Elections has been wonderful to work with, and we've really found a partnership there with our project with Leadership Fort Wayne. We've worked with the League of Women Voters. They were at the Disabilities Expo with the Leadership Fort Wayne team to help register voters right there at the expo. We're actually working on a partnership with Weil and I as well. They're having an event at the Farmers Market on September 28th called Lead the Vote, working on registering voters, getting people, bringing awareness to how to vote. So we're going to include some inclusive elements there. So it's really snowballed, and they've really helped bring some more energy and connections to the initiative.
We have some images to share, and Heather, you could maybe fill us in on what it was like to take this project to something like the Disabilities Expo, what that was like. I mean, that really must have been the perfect time to be sure that as many know about how to get on board as possible.
Yeah, so unfortunately, I did not attend that. However, it was very fun getting prepared for all of the materials that we utilized. Like, we made some koozies, that was super awesome. It was just really exciting getting to brainstorm on how to get people pulled in and get people excited about it, and then to have them carry it out there, as you can see.
And as, in fact, the handout or the display piece that you had there, we have an opportunity to share this now, and so let's do it, and then we'll share again toward the close of the program. But we have additional places where viewers watching tonight can go to get additional information on air, online, and let's show those. First of all, in no particular order, we have NIDAC itself available on Facebook, and we also have Leadership Fort Wayne, which is a broad way of getting connected for sure with the program. But you were telling us as we were getting set for the show this evening, indianavoters.in.gov is a way to ensure a lot of those basic answers, like where do I vote and how do I get registered and when the deadline is. Certainly League of Women Voters Fort Wayne, that's another biggie that they've got. And then all of that is followed by 3 other websites. They are a little cumbersome, so we'll leave this up for a little bit, but I'm sure both of you had been finding that the moment you go to your favorite search engine and type something in, your computer has the nerve to share a lot of stuff back, right?
That's true, yeah.
And that you want to be able to sift through things. There is the Election Access Commission talking about voting accessibility. And they were the ones from whom there were additional statistics, not the least of which was one that says we're not all getting any younger. As we age and as boomers go to millennials and Gen X and so forth, that there will be that many more voters during the next 25 years who are going to need some assistance at the polling place. So all of this to say, have you thought about that idea? This could be a real pay it forward kind of project, right?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. We all are going to get older, you know, so.
Yeah.
And the kind of access, we're talking about mobility, and you mentioned visibility.
Yeah.
And mobility, too, is whether you can even get out of the house, period, right?
Right, right. I think when you think about accessible voting options, of course you think of in-person voting, and there are different opportunities for accessibility when it comes to voting in person. So the Board of Elections invested in some new voting cases this past year, which means that the voting mechanism can actually be taken out and put on the lap of an individual who might not be able to stand to vote. So there's that option. There is a double talk reader who will read the ballot to the voter. There's also, they can change the contrast on the machine. And I think an important one that I actually was not aware of until this project, that a voter can bring a person to assist them to vote. They have to come and register at the table with the Board of Elections there before they assist with voting, but an individual can bring a person with them. So that's in-person voting. There's also absentee ballot voting that's really, we know quite, I'm sure you've heard about that before. There are deadlines on when to apply. So the deadline is October 24th. That is not postmarked. That's in the Board of Elections by 4:30 that day. And there's also a traveling board, which is one from each party. An individual from each party will come to an individual's home or a nursing home or a facility and help them vote there. And so there's an opportunity to apply with the Board of Elections for that voting board to come to them. And then there's also an absentee voter with print disabilities, which is actually an online tool where if you have a visual impairment or if you have a disability that affects your dexterity and you're not able to vote physically in person, you can register with the state of Indiana and with the Board of Elections and have that as well. So there are several different options beyond absentee ballot and in-person voting.
And the key in this is if you think you are eligible, seek and find, search and click, pick up the phone and call, but do it now because a lot of these may well be appointment driven, I think.
Yeah, I think it's important to make sure that you are reaching the deadline, so better safe to find that information or call the Board of Elections.
And that traveling board, I was not aware of that, and I also understand going into Election Day that if you did not bring someone, that at each polling site, pick it up from here.
Yeah. So if you don't have anybody who can come with you to assist you, you can, when you go to the polling location, you can let them know that you need assistance. And what happens from there is 2 poll workers from opposite political parties will be there to assist you.
What kind of feedback have you been receiving so far on this? I wonder if persons who have disabilities, who have been either frustrated or challenged or energized, by wanting to move through this right and be successful at it. Any encouragement along the way so far?
Yeah, definitely. I think that a lot of people appreciate the fact that they can find something, like a lot of the flyers we've created, it has all of the information right there for you, even QR codes to easily access the websites or the specific websites that you need to access. And people do want it. They want accessibility when it comes to being able to vote because it is a very important thing.
Bruce, when you talked about connections to one thing that Leadership Fort Wayne and this initiative has helped provide is to share information with those NIDEC members too, so those 24 organizations who are also receiving this information that they can then share with individuals with disabilities as well. So it's really just been energizing for sure in terms of connecting with those different organizations and people with disabilities as well.
And that has to be another part of the power of these CAP projects, because you think you know who your partners are at the beginning, and at the end you find there are a few more people standing around for the group photo.
Absolutely. I will say one thing I have realized is there's so many organizations out there that I never knew, never heard of until I was in something like Leadership Fort Wayne, where I was able to gain all the access to all these networking and all these associations and everything that are out there.
Now, we still have some time on the clock prior to November, so take it from where we are now to then. What's next? What's up next for the CAP project as you're looking ahead to the final curtain call for this?
Yeah, so our first step was really gathering information from people with disabilities and understanding what are the accessible voting options. Now we're really entering that education time period where we're trying to share the information and get it in the hands of people with disabilities. So there will be more sharing of the flyers that they created and information that Leadership Fort Wayne CAP team has created, and then also extending more training to our poll workers, making sure they're ready to serve people with disabilities when people arrive to vote on Election Day.
Yeah, I would think too, Heather, you've made a few more friends along the way at the election board and elsewhere, right?
Yeah, I mean, even just in Leadership Fort Wayne, I'm someone who I'm pretty introverted, so getting the ability or having the opportunity to have a classroom full of 60 other individuals, who are all trying to work on their leadership development and grow themselves, it's definitely helped me blossom a little bit more. I'm here on TV now. So yeah, just being able to be around a group of other individuals who are out there trying to do exactly what I'm doing has been really awesome.
Well, they promised a memorable learning experience and a way to get connected in the community, and Leadership Fort Wayne is certainly doing that, and the CAP project is an active part of that. Best wishes along the way.
Thank you. Thank you.
For all of it, and
Thank
for
you.
life at NIDAC as well,
Thank you.
on this and all the other fronts
Yeah.
in which that great work is being done. Let's, in fact, once more share with you all that you can find out more about the Northeast Indiana Disability Advocacy Coalition on Facebook. There it is. You can stop on over leadershipfortwayne.com. I believe before too much longer, the class of 2025 might start coming together a little bit, right?
Yep, coming together in January.
You can find out more of how members of your company, or maybe you yourself, might be interested in joining. And then these are others to write down very quickly on that scratch pad next to your remote. indianavoters.in.gov. That's a good one. It keeps it all in the neighborhood. And vote411.org. It's not just about voting, but who you're voting for, candidates' profiles. And then again, let your mouse and search engine be your guide to a number of these others. Just entering certain keywords may well be the way to bring that forward as well. And get out and vote is the ultimate message, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Go get that sticker.
They have koozies. Make it work. Mandy Drakeford is a steering committee member with the Northeast Indiana Disability Advocacy Coalition. And we also had Heather Schillinger, who is a Community Action Project member with Leadership Fort Wayne. I'm Bruce Haines. We all thank you for watching. Have a great night.